This video provides an overview of variables and their role in the research enterprise. A variable is any characteristic that in any given study can take on more than one value, or can vary from observation to observation. Most studies include at least two variables, an independent variable and a dependent variable. An independent variable is what the researcher controls or measures to see its effect or relationship on some outcome of interest. The dependent variable is the outcome of interest, and the researcher expects it to vary according to different values of the independent variable. In some studies, variables beyond those of direct interest are also included. These are called control variables, as their measurement provides a means of controlling for alternative explanations for research results called confounds. For example, suppose a researcher is investigating the association between smoking and liver disease. The independent or explanatory variable is smoking status, and the dependent or response variable is liver disease. Research has shown that smokers tend to drink more alcohol than non-smokers, and the link between excessive alcohol consumption and liver disease has already been established. If the researcher doesn't take into account a subject's alcohol consumption, then she has failed to account for a very strong alternative explanation for her results. Alcohol consumption is a potential confound. The researcher includes alcohol consumption as a variable so that any potential relationship between alcohol and liver disease can be controlled statistically. She could then examine the relationship between smoking and liver disease independent of alcohol consumption. Competing explanations for research results are especially prevalent in observational studies, where the researcher cannot assign subjects to treatment groups. This is why you will often see several control variables included in such designs. An important concept in any study design is operationalization, the process of defining exactly how a variable is to be measured. The process removes the fuzziness of a research question and allows others to replicate the study. Here's an example of a fuzzy research question. A researcher wants to test the hypothesis that children will grow more quickly if they eat their vegetables. In its current form, this is not a testable hypothesis. The independent variable has something to do with vegetable eating, but does the researcher mean eating vegetables versus not eating vegetables? While a no-vegetable diet may be a dream come true for many children, what parents would allow their child to participate in that study? So maybe he's planning to vary how much vegetables children eat. But what counts as a vegetable? And does it matter if the vegetable is raw or cooked? So the researcher has to define or operationalize exactly what he means by vegetable eating. The dependent variable has the same issues. It appears that the researcher is interested in growth over time. But what kind of growth? Physical? If so, is he interested in height, weight, strength? Or maybe he's interested in cognitive growth. What's the time scale? Hours and days, or even weeks, might be too short a time period to see any measurable effects. But what time period did the researcher have in mind? And how is he defining children? There's a big difference between a 6-month-old and a 13-year-old. Let's suppose that the researcher can accept vitamin C, which is found in a lot of different vegetables, as a stand-in for vegetable eating, and that he is interested in growth and development in young children, aged 2 to 3. Here, the researcher has operationalized vegetable eating as the daily amount of vitamin C a child consumes, and is comparing the recommended daily allowance of 15 milligrams to a higher dose. Similarly, he has operationalized growing more quickly as weight gain over 6 months. The independent variable is daily intake of vitamin C, and the dependent variable is weight gain in 6 months. So operationalization is a process that takes an abstract or fuzzy concept and turns it into something more clearly defined so that it can be measured. This is a critical step not only for the researcher, but also for future researchers who might want to replicate the study. To summarize, a variable is any characteristic that can take on more than one value in a particular study. The independent variable is one that a researcher manipulates or controls, in the case of an experiment, or measures in an observational study, in order to see its effect or relationship to an outcome of interest. The dependent variable is this outcome of interest, and the researcher expects its value to vary according to different values of the independent variable. In some studies, the researcher also includes one or more control variables to eliminate confounds or alternative explanations for the results. Finally, an important step in any research study is operationalization, taking an abstract concept and turning it into a variable that can be measured.